Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayana Namaskritya.
Narayana Namaskritya.
Param Chaiva Narottamam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudhirayat.
Tato Jayamudhirayat.
Ashtapraishu Abhadreshu.
Shastrayeshu Vadreshu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke.
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki.
Om Jnanatimirandasya.
Om Jnanatimirandasya.
Dhananjana Shalakaya.
Dhananjana Shalakaya.
Chakshur Militam Yena.
Chakshur Militam Yena.
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Right, so welcome everyone to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. We are reading from Canto 12, Chapter 13, the Glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we'll do texts 11 to 12. Okay. Yeah, please, you can just take the computer. So I guess we'll do the first one responsively. Chapter 13. You want to just take that with me? You just take the laptop.
Or we should say you can just take the laptop.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
can
need
get
the
it.
laptop. You
Okay.
can sit there with the laptop.
Yeah, just have it. Just bring the laptop. Okay.
Just don't bump that because it's gonna fall. It's gonna fall if you bump it. You're bumping it.
That's. Put it ready. Yeah.
Okay, are we ready? Is the verse there?
11 and 30. 11 and 12.
Adimadhyavasaneshu
Adimadhyavasaneshu.
Vairagyakhyana samyutam
Vairagyakhyana samyutam.
Adilila kathavrata
Adilila kathavrata.
Nityanandita satsuram
Nityanandita satsuram.
Adimadhyavasaneshu
Adimadhyavasaneshu.
Vairagyakhyana samyutam
Vairagyakhyana samyutam.
Adilila kathavrata
Adilila kathavrata.
Nityanandita satsuram.
Nityanandita satsuram.
Krishna?
Adimadhyavasaneshu.
Adimadhyavasaneshu.
Vairagyakhyana samyutam.
Vairagyakhyana samyutam.
Adilila kathavrata.
Adilila kathavrata.
Nityanandita satsuram.
Nityanandita satsuram.
Someone else?
Adimadhyavasaneshu
Adimadhyavasaneshu.
Vairagyakhyana samyutam
Vairagyakhyana samyutam.
Harilila kathavrata
Hadilila kathavrata. Nityanandita satsuram.
One more.
Adimadhyavasaneshu
Adimadhyavasaneshu.
Vairagyakhyana samyutam
Vairagyakhyana samyutam.
Harilila kathavrata
Harilila kathavrata.
Nitanandita satsuram
Nityanandita satsuram.
We can do the next one just all together in unison.
Sarvavedanta saram yad brahmaikat lakshanam vasvavidyam tanishtam
Kaivalyaika Prayojanam. And word for word all together. Adi in the beginning, Madhya the middle, Avasaneshu and the end. Vairagya concerning renunciation of material things. Akyana with narrations. Samhitam full. Hari-lila of the pastimes of Lord Hari. Katavrata of the many discussions. Amrita by the nectar. Anandita in which are made ecstatic. Sasuram the saintly devotees and demigods. Sarva Vedanta of all Vedanta. Saram the essence. Yat which. Brahma the absolute truth. Atma Ekatva in terms of non-difference from the spirit soul. Lakshanam characterized. Vastu the reality. Advitiyam one without a second. Tatnishtam having that as its prime subject matter. Kaivalya exclusive devotional service. Eka the only. Prayojanam ultimate goal. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Let's do this all together. From beginning to end, the Srimad Bhagavatam is full of narrations that encourage renunciation of material life, as well as nectarian accounts of Lord Hari's transcendental pastimes, which give ecstasy to the saintly devotees and the demigods. This Bhagavatam is the essence of all Vedanta philosophy, because its subject matter is the absolute truth, which, while not different from the spirit soul, is the ultimate reality, one without a second. The goal of this literature is exclusive devotional service unto that supreme truth. Purport. Vairagya, renunciation, means giving up everything that has no relation with the absolute truth. Saintly devotees and demigods are enthused by the nectar of the Lord's spiritual pastimes, which are the essence of all Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge elaborately negates the ultimate reality of material things by emphasizing their temporary, fleeting existence. The ultimate goal is vastu, factual substance, which is advitiyam, one without a second. That unique absolute truth is a transcendental person, far beyond the mundane categories and characteristics of personality found in our pale material world. Thus, the ultimate goal of Srimad Bhagavatam is to train the sincere reader in love of Godhead. Lord Krishna is supremely lovable because of his eternal transcendental qualities. The beauty of this world is a dim reflection of the unlimited beauty of the Lord. Without compromise, Srimad Bhagavatam persistently declares the glories of the absolute truth and is therefore the supreme spiritual literature, awarding a full taste of the nectar of the love of Krishna and full Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So Lord Chaitanya, this section, this chapter is the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's nice to hear and discuss the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam because it gives us faith and enthusiasm to study Srimad Bhagavatam. And Lord Chaitanya called the Srimad Bhagavatam the Amala Purana. So it's categorized as a Purana in the Vedic system of literature. And the Puranas are the ancient histories, of which there are 18. And 6 Puranas are in the mode of ignorance. 6 are for people, not that they're in the mode of ignorance, but they're for people in the mode of ignorance. 6 are for people in the mode of passion, and 6 are for people in the mode of goodness. But Srimad Bhagavatam is unique in that it is for transcendentalists, right? This book is for the Paramahamsas, those who have transcended the modes of nature, or at least are aspiring to transcend the modes of nature, and who no longer have any interest in this material world. So that's why Vairagya is stressed throughout this Srimad Bhagavatam, because it's for people who realized the temporary, fleeting nature of material existence, and who are looking for the factual substance, the absolute truth, which Srimad Bhagavatam reveals is a person. Absolute truth is a person. It's not just an energy. It's not just a void. You know, it's a person, a supreme person with an amazing personality. So that's a special characteristic of Srimad Bhagavatam, that it reveals that personality. It reveals the personal qualities and pastimes of the absolute truth. So it's important to understand how Srimad Bhagavatam fits into the history of Vedic literature came at a time when Srila Vyasadeva, who had compiled all the Vedas, he had first split them into 4 divisions, and then following that he had compiled all the Itihasas, the other Puranas, the Mahabharata, which includes Bhagavad Gita. He'd done a monumental literary accomplishment, but still he was feeling unsatisfied. And so he's sitting there in his ashram feeling very glum and thinking, I've done so much work, I've appeared in this world to reveal Vedic knowledge to people. Srila Vyasadeva is actually a Shaktiya Avesh avatar of the Lord, who came from the spiritual world for this purpose, to give the Vedas. He's considered to be the literary incarnation of the Lord. So, but even after practically his life's work of trying to present Vedic knowledge in a way that people can understand, he was still feeling like unsatisfied, despondent. Like, I've done so much work and still I don't feel like I've really done anything. Feeling so really just unaccomplished in my life. And so at that time, his spiritual master Narada Muni came on the scene, and he said, "What's wrong, Vyasadeva? You've compiled so many Vedic literatures. You've written the Mahabharata for common people to understand. You've divided things up into nice little chunks to make it accessible to people who are not very astute or scholarly inclined. You've done so much work. What's wrong?" And he says, "Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to understand." And then he says, "Perhaps it's because I haven't really made it clear. I haven't really made crystal clear the personality of God." So he was already having, from Paramatma, this giving him some hint, like this is what's missing. And so Narada Muni confirmed, yes, by not emphasizing the personality of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you've indirectly steered people towards impersonalism. Because if we don't give the knowledge of the Supreme Person, then what else is there? Impersonalism. Right? You just understand I'm a soul, everything is the Lord's energy, aham brahmasmi, and vayam tatam idam sarvam jagat avyaktamurtinam, right? That everything is all pervaded, the Lord is all pervasive by his energies. Then it leads to impersonalism. So it needs to go a step beyond that. And to understand that, yes, this is one feature of the Lord, is all pervasive, jagat murti, but there's also, beyond that, above that is Paramatma, the localized personal form of the Lord in the heart. And then even above that is Bhagavan, the realization that the Lord is a person, the absolute truth is a person. So, so this book is meant for, I was saying that this book is, so then with that realization and being confirmed by Narada Muni, then Srila Vyasadeva went on to write the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it said that this book is the essence of the Vedic literatures. So if you take all the Vedic knowledge, he had already written the Vedanta Sutra, which is he extracted the philosophical, theological essence from all the Vedas. Because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that the Vedas deal mainly with the subject matters of the 3 modes of material nature. He tells Arjuna, you need to rise above these modes. So most of the Vedas are dealing with mundane things. Modes of nature means material. Even Krishna says most of the Vedas are material. So just go beyond this mundane morality, karma kanda, and mundane rituals to get material prosperity, and you need to go for what is really the spiritual essence of the Vedas. So Vyasadeva attempted to extract the spiritual essence of the Vedas by putting that in the Vedanta Sutra. But even then, he didn't give the personality of Krishna. So the Vedanta Sutra is the essence of the Vedas, and then the Srimad Bhagavatam is Srila Vyasadeva's own commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So it's like the essence of all Vedic knowledge, and because it's giving Krishna. And Krishna says that Vedanta Krit Vedavit Evachaham. He says, I'm the compiler of by all the Vedas I am to be known. I am the compiler of the Vedanta, and the purpose of the Vedas is to know Krishna. So if one studies all the Vedas and doesn't come to know Krishna, then what's the point? They miss the whole purpose of the Vedas, which Krishna declares. And so that's why Srimad Bhagavatam is so important, because by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, we can actually know Krishna. And so it was in his maturity that Srila Vyasadeva wrote Srimad Bhagavatam. This is his final work, and it's the culmination of all of his studies and all other works. So, and it's different from other Vedic texts, because the other Vedic texts, they talk about dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. And they talk about religious life, which leads to economic development, which then provides facility for sense gratification, with the idea that after living a good life of sense gratification, you'll realize that it's not all it's cracked up to be, and then you'll be inspired to go for liberation or moksha. But unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. Right? We see that people who achieve sense gratification don't necessarily get fed up with it. They don't become satiated by it, but rather, like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, it's like duspurena analena cha. It's like a fire that when you indulge the senses, it's just like putting wood on a fire. So the wood doesn't, initially it might make the fire go down a little bit. When you put a big log on a fire, it kind of like crushes out the fire and it goes down a little bit. But as soon as that log catches on, then blazes even higher. So when we indulge the senses, we'll think, oh, these senses are pushing me so much. The urge in my senses is so strong, I can't get it out of my mind. Let me just satisfy my senses and then I can be peaceful. But it's not like that. You might be peaceful for like a short time, but then later it's like the desire comes up, times 10. So it's better to just be like, control the senses, control the mind, divert the senses by engaging them in the processes of devotional service. That's the process of bhakti, is to transfer our energies in the service of Krishna. Engage the mind, engage the senses. And in order to do that, we need to know who Krishna is. Otherwise, how do we know how to serve Krishna if we don't know Krishna? So the Srimad Bhagavatam rejects that whole process of dharma, artha, kama, moksha, which Srila says is actually cheating religion. So most of what's going on in the world in the name of religion is actually cheating religion, right? It's teaching people to pray to God for material things, pray to God to save you from your disease or from some calamity, or to help you have success in business, or to whatever, whatever it is that you want, you turn to God. So that's okay, there's different kinds of people that approach the Lord, and one category is those who want money. Another category is those who are in distress and want relief from distress and think only God can help you. So that's okay, but it's not enough. It's just the beginning. It's just a reason to approach the Lord, but then having approached the Lord, we need to we need to see Him as more than just our order supplier. Otherwise it's immature. It's immature, and if we're just asking Krishna for material things, then He may give material things, but He's not going to give us Himself until we actually have some kind of devotion. It requires a purification of the heart. So the second verse of the Bhagavatam says, Dharma projita kaitavo cha paramam nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavam ajravastu shivaram tapatrayam mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Va Param Ishvara Sadguru Vidyavarudyate Trakritivi Shushushi Vishtachana. That completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavat Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam, propounds the highest truth. And he says the highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. So it's very important to understand the difference between reality and illusion, and what is cheating religion and what is real religion. So this dharma projita kaitavo. Kaitavo means cheating, and projita means reject. So it rejects these religions which are materially motivated. It considers that even those are illusion, right? And that's and the Bhagavad Gita ends with that. And then Krishna says that very clearly, that sarva dharmam parityagya mamekam sharanam vraja. So he's saying, he's not saying reject your sense gratification, reject your mind. He's saying reject religion, reject dharma. You know? Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender to me. So what does he mean by that? He doesn't mean, he's talking about those cheating religions, the dharma, kaitava dharma. Dharma which leads us to sense gratification, or which we practice in order to facilitate and increase our sense gratification. So Srimad Bhagavatam starts where the Bhagavad Gita leaves off. And Krishna says, sarva dharma parityagya. And they say, okay, well, if I'm going to reject these material dharmas, then what? And what am I going to do? I need to live a religious life. You know, that's the purpose of human life, is to connect with God. So if I'm going to reject dharma, then where does that leave me? Right? So then Krishna says, yeah, there's a different dharma. He says, Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adokshaje ahaituki apatiyata yayatma suprasidati. He says the supreme dharma, the superior dharma, the best dharma for all humanity is bhakti yoga. It is that by which humans can attain to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. And bhakti yoga adokshaje. And he says that such devotional service has to be uninterrupted and unmotivated in order to completely satisfy the self. So he's saying, yeah, that by these cheating religions, you're never going to be satisfied. The only thing that's going to satisfy you is the ultimate dharma, the supreme religion, which is bhakti yoga, because it entails a personal connection with the supreme person, which is what we're hankering for, right? We're all hankering for personal connection, for pure love, and that can be only attained in relationship with Krishna, in a loving relationship with Krishna, the Supreme Person, who alone has the capacity to fulfill our need for love. So Srimad Bhagavatam is very, very special, and in the purport here it's talking about how it emphasizes renunciation. Throughout the Bhagavatam, it says from beginning, middle, and end. It says here in the verse that we read this, that Adi, Madhya, Avasaneshu. So Adi means beginning, Madhya means the middle, and Avasaneshu means also at the end. So what do we find at beginning, middle, and end? Vairagya. Topics concerning renunciation of material things. That's one thing. And the second thing, well, let's just pause there. So what are some pastimes that you know from Srimad Bhagavatam which speak about vairagya, or renunciation, which try to induce us to renounce material enjoyment? Dhritarashtra and Vidura.
Could we have the camera turned towards you here on Zoom?
Oh,
This one,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's why the computer was there. Got it. So Dhritarashtra and Vidura. Yeah, so Dhritarashtra is this is very attached to the kingdom, to his family, to the rights to the throne of Hastinapur, and he's just living there, old man. And then Vidura, his brother, comes back after Vidura has studied the Bhagavatam from Maitreya, and he comes back to Dhritarashtra and he says, Dhritarashtra, you need to get out of here. Just look at you. Look at your situation. You're getting old. Your teeth are falling out. You can't digest anymore. You're already blind. You know, it's like you're going to die. Your death is approaching, and you're just living in the comforts of people who you tried to kill. This is like a pathetic existence for a great personality like yourself. Now is the time to renounce. Just leave the kingdom, go to the forest, focus yourself on spiritual life, focus on Lord and prepare yourself to depart from this world in a glorious way. So, yeah, that's a strong lesson in renunciation. What are some other ones?
Prachani
What's that?
Prachani like Narad Muni instructed
Yeah,
Prachani
Prachinavarishad, yeah. So first of all, he instructs the sons of the Prachetas, right?
Prachetas.
King Prachinavarishad's sons. They go there they go with the intention of performing austerities to become empowered to beget good children. Right? And then they're going there, and then Narada Muni comes along and he says, "Oh, why do you want to get entangled in this material world? It's so complicated. Actually, your souls, you have nothing to do with this world. Don't waste your time. Just focus on the Lord." And so Prachinavarishad gets angry. Right? That actually happens twice. And then in the end, Narada Muni's like, "Oh, this poor Prachinavarishad. I've sidelined, all of his sons, and so I should help him too." So then, but he knows that King Prachinavarishad is so attached that it's not going to be easy, and so he teaches him through the Puranjana allegory. Right? He gives him that whole allegorical story of this king Puranjana, who's very attached, who's very lustful, who gets himself really entangled, he's so attached to his wife that he has to take birth as a woman, but fortunately, that in his next life as a woman, he gets married to a very saintly husband who is a pure devotee who teaches him how to practice Krishna consciousness. And then when that saintly husband leaves his body, then now he's a she, is a widow, and she actually gets the personal association of the Supreme Lord, and is able to go back home, back to Godhead. So when Prachinavarishad hears that, he's like, wow, I understand that this is the real objective of life, not just material things, but sense gratification. Anything else? Dhruva Maharaj? Does he renounce?
I mean, he does tapasya.
He does tapasya.
And then he realizes he's not doing the right kind of tapasya.
Right, yeah. So he learns about renunciation through his own devotional practice. It's revealed to him from within. So, right, we were talking about that a little bit yesterday, that some of the devotees who are attending programs here at Krishna House Grand Rapids regularly are realizing that material life is just, it's not where it's at. We're feeling a higher happiness here in the association of devotees, performing bhakti, and realizing that actually I'm a soul and this is my main purpose in life. So Dhruva Maharaj came to that realization. Right? In the beginning, he didn't even care about God. The only reason he was approaching God was because he wanted a kingdom, and he saw the Lord as a way to get his kingdom. But then, by good fortune, he came in contact with the pure devotee Narada Muni, and Narada Muni said, "Okay." He kind of tricked him, right? He said, "If you want the kingdom, then follow processes of bhakti. Go and chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, do austerities, make a deity form of the Lord, worship the deity of the Lord." So he basically taught him the items of, most of the items of Panchanga Bhakti. Chanting the holy names and worshipping the deity. He got the association of devotee through Narada Muni, and living in a holy place, right? He went to live, where was he living? Huh? Madhuvan in Vrindavan, right? By the bank of the Yamuna. That's it. And hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm not sure if he was hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, but at least he heard something from Narada. And so, of course, those potent practices, those 5 potent practices of bhakti are so potent that even if we perform one of them perfectly, then we can get the full benefit and attain perfection of life. So Dhruva Maharaj, he attained that perfection, that the Lord appeared personally before him and blessed him, touched the conch shell on his head, empowered him to recite eloquent prayers, glorifications, and then the Lord said, "Okay, I've come here to fulfill your desires. I've come here to give you a benediction." And then Dhruva Maharaj felt so ashamed of himself, right? He was like, I feel like such a fool. I did all this to try to get a kingdom greater than my father's, greater than my grandfather's. I was acting just out of jealousy, and revenge, a spirit of revenge against my stepmother and my father and my brother, to try to outdo them. But I've realized that this is all just useless. I don't want a kingdom. I don't want anything. I just want devotional service at your lotus feet, life after life. So the Lord was so kind that he gave him pure devotional service, but he also said that I'm also going to give you a kingdom. So then he gave him the spiritual planet in this material world, the pole star, which is the planet of Svetadweep, where Lord Vishnu eternally resides within this material universe. So, like this, when we go through Bhagavatam, there's so many stories.
For Kumar,
The four Kumaras, how did the four Kumaras come
just
to?
before not they got Tulsi only.
They became personalists, yeah.
in personal.
They were already pretty renounced, they were impersonalists, but it brought them to the personal understanding. Yeah, so that's the next step here. So the first thing that Bhagavatam accomplishes for the reader is renounce material things. So that's the beginning. You know, renounce, understand the difference between reality and illusion, renounce the illusion, and embrace the reality. And then it teaches us what is the reality. So that's what we learned from the Kumaras, that the reality, at least the highest reality, is not the impersonal understanding. The highest reality is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Even Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya.
Yeah, that's from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So that's the next part here. So the first thing is Vairagyakyena Samyutam, that it's full of narrations concerning renunciation of material things. And the next thing is Hari Lila Katha Prata, that it's also full of the most ecstatic nectar of discussions of the pastimes of Lord Hari, Hari Lila, the pastimes of Lord Hari, which are Amrita, which are nectar, and which are Anandita, which bring bliss, right? Ananda, they bring bliss. So, and it's also showing us that the goal is, it says the last line here is Kaivalyaika Prayojana. So Kaivalyaika Prayojana means Kevala Bhakti. Right? Kevala Bhakti. So there are actually two, even within Bhakti, there are two different kinds of Bhakti. And one is Kevala Bhakti, and the other is called what is it? Mahatmya Gyan Bhakti. So Mahatmya Gyan Bhakti means devotion for the Lord, which includes knowledge of His greatness. Okay? That you have devotion for the Lord because you know that He's the Supreme Person. You know that He's the absolute truth, the summum bonum, the cause of all causes, who is, indirectly in charge of the creation, maintenance, destruction of the universes, and like that. And you worship the Lord according to, with a mood of awe and reverence. So that is the mood that takes a devotee to Vaikuntha, Mahatmya Gyan. It's a kind of love, Mahatmya Gyan praying, Bhakti. And then there's Kevala Bhakti, or Kevala praying, which means that it's only love. There's no awe and reverence mixed. It's just pure love, right? Kevala means exclusive, nothing else. Just one thing, and that is pure love for Krishna. So that's actually the path that the Bhagavatam emphasizes. And that's why in the 10th canto we have such long descriptions of Krishna's Vrindavan Lila. Because in Vrindavan, that's the mood. The mood is only love. They don't even think about, they don't even know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That their vairagya is so advanced that they renounce even Gyan. Actually, 11th canto it talks about that we cut down, that Gyan is like an axe, it's compared to an axe. It says with this axe of knowledge, we cut down the tree of material existence. In the Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, the material existence is compared to a banyan tree that grows upside down banyan tree. So the real banyan tree is the spiritual existence, and the material banyan tree is the perverted reflection, the branches are going down, and it's all like after sense gratification and like that. So we need to cut down this tree. And in Bhagavad Gita it says the weapon is detachment. In 11th canto it says the weapon is knowledge. But they're related because the knowledge leads to detachment. So that's the idea, is that we take the weapon of knowledge and we cut down this tree, and gradually we become detached. We don't want this tree anymore, and it's gone. And then it says that having cut down the tree of your material existence, what do you do with the axe? Throw it away. You just fling it. You don't need knowledge anymore. So now all you need is bhakti. All you need is love. And that's why, pure devotional service is anya vilashita shunyam jnana karma dhyanavritam. So, there's no other desire except to please Krishna. Anya abhilasha shunyam. All other desires are shunya, zero. And jnana karma dhyanavritam. That it's not covered by jnana or by karma, material activities. So even jnana, knowledge of the difference between matter and spirit, Krishna's transcendental position, all the different types of transcendental knowledge out there. When we come to love Krishna purely, then there's no more need for that. We need it to bring us to that point, but then afterwards we don't need it. Then we just need to churn the love. We just need to nourish and nurture our love for Krishna. And that's the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam, that when we read the pastimes of Krishna in 10th canto of Bhagavatam, then it stimulates, it awakens, and nourishes our love, and that love grows and grows. And it's not that the devotees are, having thrown away the axe of knowledge, it's not that we become ignorant, right? We still know that Krishna is God. It's just not the most important thing in our relationship, is knowing that Krishna is God. It's just like somebody may be a millionaire. Let's say there's a man who's a billionaire. So that may be a very attractive feature and something very important to know about a person. But then later, there's a woman, she falls in love with a man, they get married, and her relationship with him it's no longer important that he's a billionaire. She just loves him for who he is. He's her husband, and that's all. Who cares about what he does for a living, how much money he earns? That's inconsequential. Even if you go totally bankrupt, she doesn't care. She still loves him. If she loves him purely, assuming she loves him, purely. So like that. With Krishna, like with the Brajavasis, in Vrindavan, sometimes Krishna will do something amazing. Like he'll kill some demon, and they'll be like, wow, Krishna, he's pretty incredible. Like, he's pretty exceptional. He does things that ordinary people don't do. And then sometimes, people will come to Nanda Maharaj and say, Nanda Maharaj, like, your child is very exceptional. I have a feeling he might even be the supreme person. He might even be, like an incarnation of Lord Narayan or something like that. And then Nanda Maharaj is just like, maybe, but anyways, or whatever, he's just my son. He doesn't care. He's like, that may be, but anyways, he's my son, and I'm still going to instruct him, and I'm still going to correct him, like that. And then even with Mother Yashoda, he reveals his universal form, right, within his mouth. And she's heard rumors that he's been eating dirt, so she says, come here, Krishna, and open your mouth. She holds his little hand, and he opens his mouth, and then she sees like everything, all the whole solar system, all the mountains and planets and everything within his mouth. And then for a minute there, she becomes like faint, and then she thinks, and it's very funny what she thinks, oh my God, call a doctor, there's something wrong with my child. This is not what you're supposed to see in the mouth of a healthy child. So she just immediately goes back. Her Vatsalya Bhava is so strong that she can't think of Krishna as anything other than her little helpless, innocent son. So it's not that they don't know that Krishna is God. They just don't care. It's just not important to them whatsoever, and they don't want to think about it because it will cloud their love. It will cover their love. So that's pure devotional service cannot be covered by knowledge. And So, as we advance in devotional service and we read Krishna's pastimes, then it's less about trying to understand Krishna's supreme position, and it's more about just trying to appreciate Krishna's transcendental qualities and how and the loving relationships that he has, all the loving exchanges between himself and his devotees in different relationships, and ultimately we'll be attracted by a particular relationship, and our natural love, which is inherent within the heart of all souls, will be awakened and will flow towards Krishna, following the mood of particular associates of Krishna. So, what's that verse? Sadhikabunai, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhikabunai, Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta Karya Udai. That Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema, that love for Krishna is eternally established within the hearts of all living entities. And then they said it doesn't need to be obtained through some other outside source. So then how to access this love? Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta Karaye Udai. So Shravanadi. So Shravana means hearing, and Adi means etc. So it means Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam, Sakyam Atman Vedanam. Means by engaging in these 9 processes of devotional service. That begins with hearing. So first we hear. We hear Srimad Bhagavatam from mature devotees, and then after hearing, then after Shravanam comes Kirtanam. We hear whatever we learn, we share with others. We discuss amongst ourselves. Also Kirtanam means chanting the holy names, chanting devotional songs, singing devotional songs, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and then that leads to the next thing, which is Vishnu Smaranam or Krishna Smaranam, remembering. Then we can remember because we are hearing and speaking, and then that's how we remember. Even when we're trying to learn some, mundane subject matter in school, it's like you hear from the teacher, and then if you actually turn around and explain that to somebody else, then that helps you to remember it better. It helps you to become well established within your heart and mind. So we hear, and we speak, and then we remember. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, and then we engage in service. Service to the lotus feet of the Lord, all different forms of service. Archanam, the deity worship, is a type of service. Vandanam, prayers, offering heartfelt prayers to the Lord. And there's different types of prayers, different levels of prayers that we can offer. Vandanam Dasyam, considering ourselves a servant, that my identifying that my identity is that I'm a servant. Jiveras Vahoya Krishnera Nityadas, identifying as Krishna's servant. And then Sakyam, developing a friendly mood with the Lord. So these last 2 are for advanced devotees, that you have a mood of loving friendship, that Krishna is my best friend. And then you can kind of like relax with Krishna. Friendship means you relax with the person and you just express your heart, express your mind, your feelings. Your relationship with Krishna becomes less formal and reverential, and more just like Krishna's my constant companion, Krishna's with me, Krishna's my best friend, I totally trust him, like that. I just want to share my life with Krishna. Everything that I want to do with Krishna, for Krishna. And then that leads to Atma Nivedana, which means completely offering oneself, mind, body, and soul, to Krishna, in the service of Krishna. So by these 9 processes, then our love for Krishna awakens. Udai, Shravanadi, Shuddha Chitta, Karaye, Udai. Udai means, it's the same word that we use for like the sun rising, right? Udila Aruna Pura Babage. Now the sun is arising. So the same way that the sun rises in the morning, for sure, it's just a matter of time that the sun's going to rise. So the same way, it's sure, just a matter of time that by performing these 9 processes of devotional service, beginning with Shravanadi, that the sun of our love for Krishna, our prema, which is already there, is going to rise. So already there, like the sun is always there, but at night we can't see it. It's there somewhere, just that we can't see it because it's on the other side of the planet. It's covered by the planet, right? And so, same way, our love for Krishna is already there, but we can't see it because it's covered by so many layers of material conditioning and arthas and all that. But by performing the 9 processes of devotional service, then those coverings are removed, and then the love arises. So this is what Srimad Bhagavatam is teaching us and giving us. And the more we perform bhakti, then the more our renunciation, the more we get clarity on what is illusion, what is reality, and we can give up the illusion and accept the vastu, the factual substance, which is advitiya, one without a second. In other words, there are not 2 different things. There's only one thing, and that is Krishna. That's the meaning of absolute truth. It means that it's that which encompasses everything. So when we come to this realization of Krishna as the absolute truth, then there's no more duality. We're free from the duality which causes us to come to this material world, right? Which causes us to desire a separate existence from Krishna, and which leads to all kinds of delusions in this material world. So when we realize that everything is Krishna, and there's Krishna, and there's Krishna's energies, right? There's really only one thing, and everything is Krishna. His energies manifest in all kinds of different varieties in this world and in the spiritual world. There's the spiritual energy, there's the material energy. Those energies manifest in different ways also. Parasya Shakti or Vividaya Vishuvite, unlimited energies and unlimited different manifestations of those energies, but ultimately they all come from Krishna. So they're all inconceivably one with and different from Krishna. So that's the understanding of the absolute truth. And when we understand that everything is Krishna, then there's literally nothing else to do except serve Krishna, right? Because nothing else really exists except Krishna, because he's the absolute truth. So, yeah. And the amazing thing is that the absolute truth, who is everything, is what it says here, supremely lovable. The absolute, everything, there's nothing but supreme lovability in existence, right? There's nothing but love in existence because there's nothing but Krishna. And then Krishna, but the origin of everything is the person, is Bhagavan, who is the supreme lovable Krishna, who has these eternal transcendental qualities. And so it says that the goal of Srimad Bhagavatam is to train the supreme, sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. The ultimate goal of Srimad Bhagavatam is to train the sincere reader in love of Godhead. So this is our training manual. Srimad Bhagavatam is a training, it's a manual for training us in love of Godhead. So by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, we come to learn about Krishna, to know about Krishna, and to know Krishna is to love him because he's so lovable. And the only reason that people don't love Krishna is because they don't know enough about him. So we need to keep reading Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing about Krishna, hearing elucidations about Krishna based on Srimad Bhagavatam, and then that love will awaken, and that's the perfection of life. So, yeah, I'll stop here and open up for any questions, comments, reflections. Yes.
Sorry, yesterday I was asked a question. Presently, the demigods, their administration, whatever now presently demigods, they are devotees or they have achieved that level. Presently, demigods are there.
You're asking, are the demigods devotees or?
Or they are no, Krishna's devotees now, or they achieve that level, then only they get the position.
I'm not understanding.
So demigods achieved
अभी डेमिगॉड है वो लोग भगवान को बनते आधे उनको उस स्थान में चला गया उनको मिल गया ऐसा स्थान.
So are demigods devotees and that's why they have been given the position of being a demigod?
Yes and no. So the demigods are jiva souls like us. Okay? They become very advanced in pious activities, and they're also devotees of Krishna. So Krishna can trust them because they're devotees of Krishna. But their devotion is not pure. They also have material desires. They have desires for material opulence, for power within this material world. And so they take the positions, they become elevated to positions of demigods, where they can serve Krishna in this material world, but they can also have their positions of power and authority and opulence and comfort, like that. So actually the position of a pure devotee is higher than a demigod. The position of a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, our acharyas, is higher than a demigod because they don't have material desires. They're not interested in material opulence or power. They just want service. And they're only interested in love for Krishna. And that's why we see sometimes that the demigods become bewildered, right? That's in the very first verse of the Bhagavatam. It talks about that even the demigods, that sometimes Krishna, by Krishna's potencies, the great demigods like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Indra are placed into illusion. But a pure devotee is never put into illusion, at least not by Mahamaya. They may be illusioned by Yogamaya, but that's a different thing. Mahamaya is it's a form of Yogamaya, but it's the material form. So what Mahamaya does is it pulls the soul away from Krishna. And what Yogamaya does is it pulls the soul towards Krishna. So Yogamaya is actually Krishna's potency that enables the pure devotee to forget that Krishna is God. Right? Or that there's different aspects of Yogamaya also. Right? There's Lila Shakti is one aspect of Yogamaya that facilitates Krishna's Lila. And then there's another aspect of Yogamaya which covers the pure devotee's intelligence so that they forget that Krishna is God. So like that. But so sometimes pure devotees can be so-called bewildered by Yogamaya, but they're never bewildered by Mahamaya. Whereas sometimes the demigods can become bewildered by Mahamaya and do things which are against the desire of Krishna. And then Krishna needs to correct them, chastise them, make a whole arrangement to bring them back to their senses. Does that answer the question? Okay, good. Anything else?
Just a comment, Prabhu, I like the point of acts with renunciation. That is Bhagavad Gita, but the acts with knowledge. So I like the point how you did it. And then throw the axe.
Yeah. Yeah, and also I like the axe example because if you think of an axe, to hold an axe and to wield an axe, it requires some strength. It's not for weaklings. Like if you think of like a lumberjack with an axe, it's like a strong person, strong, rugged individual who's got the axe and chop down the tree. So it means that we need to be strong. That knowledge is a source of strength. That spiritual knowledge is really a source of strength in this world that empowers us to resist the forces of Maya, to transcend the modes of material nature, and to be strongly determined in spiritual life. So the knowledge is extremely useful for making advancement. But then when we come to a point where we kind of break through a threshold and we come to another level in our bhakti, where we're very firmly established, where we've gone through, anartana vritti, and we've come to a stage of higher stages of nishta, where our devotion is steadily fixed. We have taste, ruchi, we have taste, and we're attached to Krishna. So it's at those higher stages, basically stage of asakti and beyond, where you can throw away the axe. Before that, you'd better hold on to it because you're going to need it through anartana vritti, because that can be bewildering.
Even Kunti prayers also, she's shloka is there. Please remove my all family affection. Cut my, she's teaching the prayers, Kunti prayers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, she just wanted, yeah, even her family are devotees,
Yeah.
right?
She's telling about
Her family are pure devotees, and she's like, please,
attachment.
please free me from this attachment
That's so correct.
to my
Yeah.
family members because it's interfering with my love for you, Krishna. I'm so entangled by all of their dramas and crises and everything. Of course, she says, let these calamities come again and again.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
she understands how she's benefiting from all the calamities, but at the same time, she feels like the calamities are helping her to turn to Krishna, but there's still a little thing that's like, I'm turning to Krishna, but at the same time, I'm really worried about my sons, you know? So, yeah, she wants to just make it only Krishna, right? Like she says later that, just as the water of the Ganga flows to the sea. Yeah.
Continuously is flowing to the ocean.
Let my love, let my mind, let my consciousness flow to you without being deviated from anything else. So that's Kevala Bhakti. That's the goal of Srimad Bhagavatam that we're talking about here. This Kaivalya Eka Prayojana. This one pointed, like Ekeha Kurunandana. Not two things, only Krishna. Only Krishna and only pure love for Krishna. Not mixed with anything else. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premananda.
Hari.
Hari Bol.
I'll get it over.